make that go live now on Facebook while we get ready here. Okay. Hello, everyone. We are live here for our food budgeting and meal planning lesson. So I'm live on Facebook while we're also live on Zoom. So we have some people joining us in two different places. So if my eyes are wandering, it's because I'm trying to manage two different screens and admit people into the Zoom meeting while also making sure we're good to go on Facebook. So I want to start off though while people are joining us and introducing your presenters for today. So I'm Monica Nagel. I'm the Health and Human Science Educator with Montgomery County, Purdue Extension, and I have two other presenters that will be helping me. And Amber, I'll let you go ahead.
Thanks. I'm Amber Knoll. I'm the Health and Human Sciences Educator for Purdue Extension in Tippecanoe County.
And my name is Abby Sampson, and I'm also a Health and Human Sciences Educator, and I am in Putnam County.
Right, thank you guys for joining me on this presentation today. And as you can see on this first screen here, there is a whole team of us, Purdue Extension educators who prepared this presentation for you. And so I want to give a shout out to those who also helped in creating this presentation. We're on a group of a team of foods and nutrition educators. And so our goal is each year to kind of create a presentation about foods and nutrition that will help out our community. And this time we thought food budgeting and meal planning was perfect for this time. So we also have created a presentation on using an electric pressure cooker. So if that sounds interesting to you, I would encourage you to reach out to your local Purdue Extension educator and ask them for that presentation. And we should actually be having someone do a presentation via Facebook Live or Zoom here on that as well shortly. So it looks like people kind of stopped joining us on Zoom, and I think we're getting our group going on Facebook. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm not managing the PowerPoint, so if you could move on to the next slide, please, Amber. And we'll get started. All right, so many of you might be responsible for dinner, and so you might be asking yourself, what's for dinner tonight? And you're not alone in that. Actually, 85% of Americans have no idea what is going to be for dinner tonight until just a few hours before they eat. So if you are thinking you're the only one who gets stressed out about what's for dinner this evening, trust me, you're not alone. I actually just threw some food in the crock pot a little bit ago, right before we started. But I had been stressing a little bit about what are we going to eat tonight? So what and how we eat can affect our health, well-being, and our finances. Today's objective is to help give you some tools or to remind you of some tools you may already know that will help plan healthy meals without breaking the bank. So now many of you probably do the majority of the food shopping and preparation in your home. And if that's you, if you could go ahead and give us a thumbs up, type in the box like, yes, that's me. Whatever method works for you to just let us know that you're the person who does most of the shopping in your house. And if that is you, that makes you the very crucial nutritional gatekeeper. So you're calling all the shots of what you're bringing into your home and what you're feeding your family. So while many of us may downplay the importance of this role and see it as a never-ending chore, it's actually a lot of power. So if you think about it, you're shaping and the short and long term both taste preferences of the food behaviors of not only yourself, but also your family members. So feeding the body healthy foods is important. Healthy foods are often perceived as being more expensive, but they don't have to be. Besides investing in your health now will end up being more cost effective in the long run. According to Harvard School of Public Health, over the course of a lifetime per person cost for obesity result in roughly $9,000 to $17,000 higher costs compared to a normal weight individual. So managing any of those chronic diseases also becomes easier and less expensive when we make an effort to eat healthy foods. So 3 things I want to remind you of today about nutrition in regards to today's presentation are going to plan to eat healthy ahead of time. Choose healthy meals to make, then shop or have those items on hand. Keep healthy snacks easily accessible. If you know you'll be eating out later, then plan to eat healthier foods or at other meal times during the day. This is also a great skill to give your kids if you have them, or be a good role model. It's always important to be a good food role model. A key concept of healthy eating is portion control. So use measuring cups or food scales to teach yourself those portions that you can then become familiar with and just be able to see on your plate. And then be familiar with serving sizes and reading those food labels. And if you do choose to indulge, do so in a way where you feel satisfied without overdoing it. And finally, eat for your personal health. Nutrition is not a one-size-fits-all, despite what fad diets and headlines might tell you. So if you hate cauliflower, don't eat it. Food is not your enemy. It's important to make sure you find a healthy eating pattern that fits your preferences and your budget, and something that you can maintain over time. So it's hard to make a food budget, and if you don't have an overall idea of your income and expenses, it's even harder. So I want to ask another question to you before I kind of go into this slide. Have any of you ever made a food budget before? So type in the chat box, yes or no, you've created a food budget before today's presentation. So as you do that, I want to start by, the way you would do this is you need to start by tracking your expenses. Keep track of all the money your family actually spends on the food for the last week. This would include things like lunches for work, restaurant meals, vending machine snacks, maybe a convenience store stop you took, and make sure you write down everything. Keep those receipts maybe too to help you verify. Then multiply that number by 4 to tell you what spending on food each month is. So once you see how much you regularly spend on your food and groceries, then you can start to make a plan to more efficiently spend your money. There are some other ways you can help make your food budget as well. There's an online calculator from Eat Smart, Spend Smart, and we'll actually stick that in the chat box for you that you can go and investigate this online calculator. There's one from the U.S. Department of Agriculture as well. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture found the cost of food eaten at home for a family of 4 can range from $526 to $1,186 a month or more, depending on the age of your family members, and even more importantly, how thrifty you are when you're shopping. So the average American actually spends $1.22 for every dollar earned. So we're actually overspending on food from how much money we're actually earning. So to create a budget, it's important to examine your total income and your total expenses. So a budget is a plan for spending money. When you're making your budget, determine the amount of money you have in your household budget and spend on food. According to the USDA, again, Americans spend on average around 6% of their total budget on food. However, they also found that we also spend about 5% of our disposable income on dining out. So if we actually combine that 5% and 6%, it makes 11% of our total food budget, 11% of our total income being spent on food. And obviously this varies from household to household, depending on how often you eat out, how many people are in your family, and so forth. So I have an example on the screen here to help you understand if your budget is realistic and works for you or not. So if we take an income of $1,500 per month and we multiply it by that 11% of our food expenses that the USDA tells us is average, we're gonna find out that you have $220 that you can spend on groceries in 1 month. Then you need to think about how often you actually go to the grocery store. So most of us, including myself, go to the grocery store once a week. So I'm gonna divide that $220 by 4 weeks, because there's 4 weeks in a month, and find out that I could only spend $55 on food each week. If you only go to the grocery store every 2 weeks, fantastic, you now get $110 to spend on groceries each time you go. And it's important to make sure you revisit your budget often. Know what you can spend and how much you have for extras. If you go over your grocery budget by just $8 each week, that can add up to over $400 by the end of the year. So if we're not following that food budget we've set for ourselves, then we can really overspend. So how can you get the most for your money, get the highest quality for your money, and get the most nutrition for your money? Having a food budget plan that will help you spend your food dollars more wisely is the answer. And according to the National Restaurant Association, the average American ages 8 and above eats out 4 times a week. Young adults under the age of 27 eat out even more often, and it has become a lifestyle for them. And is this the best way to be spending our food dollar? As we go through this, you might find out probably not. So convenience. We often like the idea of convenience foods to help us save time, but is the cost of convenience worth it? So convenience foods cost more than double of non-prepared foods. You can save money by peeling, cutting, and mixing at home. Convenience foods are nice, but you pay for that convenience. So it's really going to be up to you to decide if it's worth your time to reduce your cost or cut the convenience. So we found that on average, it's almost 5 times more expensive to order delivery from a restaurant than it is to cook at home. And if you're using a meal kit service or as a shortcut at home cooked meals, it's a bit more affordable, but still almost 3 times as expensive as cooking from scratch. So this chart on the screen shows you the difference of the top 15 foods of what it would cost to cook at home versus the meal kit option. And so these have the biggest gap in what the cost is. So as you can see here, chicken soup costs only $1.48 per serving to make at home, but it would cost you $13 from a meal kit service, and that does include the home delivery fee. So in this instance, you could have saved $11.82 per serving. If you have a family of 4, that would have been $47.28 per meal. So yes, the convenience is convenient, but it could cost you a lot of extra money. So think about maybe when you're going to use those convenience foods that you pick something that's a little more difficult to make, or the cost would be more comparable than, say, that chicken soup example. Another great way to help you save money is to bring your own lunch or brown bag it. And so as you can see on this chart on the screen, if you eat out for lunch, you're going to spend probably about $10.50 for that lunch and drink. If I bring my lunch, I'm only going to spend about $3 to $4 on that lunch I make myself. And then we've done some math here for you. And we've multiplied this by 5 days a week because we're assuming that you're eating out on your work days as opposed to the weekend, but you might also be eating out on the weekend. So in a year's time, you would have spent $2,700.30 per year on eating out for lunch versus making it at home. You could have spent anywhere from $780 to $1,040 on that food, which is a grand savings of $1,830 each year for packing your own lunch. And you can see here too, even if you would have just packed it for 3 days a week, so still having some food out, but eating at home, you could still save about $1,000 a year. So to get the most highest quality and most nutrition for your money, brown bagging it is the way to go. It's really also a very good nutritional bargain because Americans consume 1/3 of their calories outside of the home. So if you bring your lunch, chances are you'll be eating healthier too. So meal planning, we've talked all about the food budget. Now it's time to kind of switch gears into actually planning for those meals. Meal planning is an easy way that can help us manage our food budget. It can help save money and reduce food waste at home, and ultimately help save time because no one is wondering what's for dinner this week, which also helps alleviate stress and those last minute dinners after a long day. It also helps you make less trips to the grocery store, which is very important right now with exposure that you may have from going to the grocery store. And people who make weekly menus typically go to supermarket once a week or less, as opposed to those who don't. So those who don't plan menus find themselves making extra trips to the supermarket or convenience store to pick up food they've forgotten or need for a meal they've decided to have. This is not only stressful, but it can also waste time and money and can cause you to rely on convenience items that may not offer you very much nutrition. It can help save money because you buy only what you need, so you don't waste as much food, basically because you're eating what you bought, and you aren't eating out, which on average costs more than cooking at home. You can add a variety to your eating pattern because you're thinking of new foods to incorporate that you may not have eaten before. Like maybe you try adding beans, or you choose a different vegetable or protein to add to tonight's meal. And you may be trying new recipes you haven't thought of before. And if you are making fewer trips to the store, there are fewer opportunities for those impulse buys. I know my impulse buys always seem to be the candy bars that are at the cash register waiting on me. Finally, meal planning helps you eat healthier meals. Generally, you're cooking in a healthier preparation method, and you can plan for more nutritious items. So how can you meal plan? Does anyone on this call currently do any meal planning? If so, if you could type that into the chat box and let us know that yes, you do meal plan, and maybe even share with us why you do it and what you like about it. Others on this call might not be as experienced and looking for some inspiration. So if we can also get inspiration from everybody on the call, that would be great. And as you do that, I'm going to continue on talking about some techniques and ideas to take into consideration while meal planning. So the idea is, and why I want people to share, is that there's no right or wrong way to meal plan. And the key is to finding out what works best for you and your family. So if you learn how to plan a menu, it may save more money or on your food budget than any other skill. So here are some things to think about. Time and energy may be limited, so it takes time to meal plan. So set aside some time for you to sit down and plan out your meals. Maybe that's on the weekend. Maybe it's a weekday that you don't work as late. Whatever time works for you. And the more you do this, the quicker it's going to get. And it also helps save some of your old menus and grocery lists that you can just reuse during those busy times. Then you want to start by writing what you want to eat. So with your family, think about those meals that you really want to eat. And it's important to remember what your family's needs, likes, and dislikes are. If they don't eat it, then it's wasted money. Take breakfast, lunch, snacks, and dinner all into consideration. What nutrients does everyone need? Keep in mind that young children and older adults often have different nutritional needs. Also consider any of those intolerances, sensitivities, and allergies of those eating with you. Consider your schedule. It's important to make sure you plan menus and choose easy meals you can prepare quickly for those busy days, and maybe save some of those time-consuming sorry, I'm also letting people into the call and I just got distracted. Save those time-consuming meals for a day that you have more time. Think about how many will be eating at each meal. Will you be eating away from home for certain meals? So then you should buy less food. Will friends or relatives be coming over that you also need to make sure you have enough food for them? Or did they offer to bring something so you don't need to prepare as many dishes because the people who are coming over are going to bring something. Keep it simple. Healthy meals don't have to be complicated, so simple menus save time and money and can also be very nutritious. Take your kitchen skills into account as well. If you have family members or roommates who can help in the kitchen, take their cooking skills into consideration. If you have children, the older kids can help you preheat the oven, marinate some meat, tear lettuce for a salad. Maybe they can even measure some ingredients like rice. And using their help can save you time and also teaches them very important life skills. Other members in your house can also help you brainstorm those meal ideas. It doesn't have to be completely up to you. And then make sure you're considering the kitchen equipment that you have to make sure that those meals you're planning match the equipment you have available to you to cook. So now here you can see I want to do a little bit of practice. So you can share your practice in the chat box, or you can feel free to just write it on a piece of paper on your phone, whatever you have available to you. But I want you to think about who you are. So we're going to kind of go through that step one that I talked about here in the slide. Think about those likes and dislikes of your family, and then make a list of the meals that most of your family enjoys. So let's think about next week, since it's Thursday, let's be preparing next week's menu. What types of foods would you like to have next week? And again, feel free to share any of that in the chat box, because maybe someone else came on here hoping someone would give them some dinner ideas. So let's share the love and make sure that others can see some of these favorite meals of others. And then as you guys are typing that in, I'm actually going to switch over the presentation responsibilities to Amber.
Thanks, Monica. I have to remember to unmute myself here. So please keep adding to the chat box, and we are going to build on this. So you're currently thinking of meals that you would like to eat. So our next step on this is going to be taking inventory. So we want to check to see what we already have at home. So before we go to the store, we're going to look in our freezer, our cabinets, our fridge, and we're going to ask you to look into your trash, and I'll explain more coming up. So you want to plan to use what you already have on hand, especially now. I know I've been experiencing a lot of, well, I've planned something with chicken and I go to the store and there's just not any chicken available. So definitely taking inventory of what we already have on hand helps. This also helps to save money because you already own this food, so you don't have to buy it again. And you want to pay attention to what's in your trash. So know what food and what kind of food you are throwing away each week. This can help you understand what foods you didn't eat. So you might need to buy smaller portions. Maybe you should buy ingredients that you are more likely to cook with. Like if you were being ambitious and you bought cilantro and you know that you're not a huge fan of cilantro, so you see it in the trash, you should make note of that so you don't keep buying large amounts of cilantro. So then we're going to plan the week's menu from items on sale. So we're looking at what we already have, and then we are going to go, I know some grocery stores use apps. Some people still get the paper. So you want to look at those sales ads to see what's on sale. And this is really where you will start to save money, especially for expensive purchases like meat. You also want to make sure that you are buying in-season produce. So not only will it be more, it'll be tastier, but you will also save some money buying in-season produce as opposed to out-of-season produce. Make sure that you're comparing advertised prices among stores to find where you can save the most money on your entire shopping list, and then compare the written prices on the shelf to advertised specials or sales. After a few weeks of doing this, you'll start to notice the pattern of where the best prices are, and you'll be able to stock up so you're not paying that regular price. When you are buying and looking at these sales ads, think about saving some of these on sale items for later. So think of foods that you can cook once and eat twice. So can you cook one round of broccoli and eat that for dinner tonight and then put it in tomorrow night's dinner or eat it for lunch? And then consider building in leftover days to help you eat things that you possibly would have ended up throwing away. So I know when we're meal planning for my family, I always build in a leftover day because inevitably we will end up with all sorts of Tupperware containers and we need a day to clear out that fridge. So keep that in mind as well. And if you're already cooking it, you might as well cook enough for the whole week. So going back to that cooking once, eating it more than once. If you end up with a lot of leftovers, you can freeze them in single serving reusable containers, and that can help you meal plan when you are in a pinch. So I do this a lot with soups. I cook a double batch of soup and then I individually portion it out, stick it in the freezer for those days that I need a quick dinner or a lunch on the go. And keep in mind that these steps that we are going through are interchangeable. So you might take inventory first and then plan meals based on what you have, or do it in the order that we've described here. We said that when you are taking inventory to think about your trash. So the most expensive food you buy is the food that you end up throwing away. You lose money when you throw that food out. The average American household throws away 14% of their food in the trash per year, according to a USDA-funded study from 2004. That averages about $600 per year. To ensure that you are not throwing your food dollars away, here's a list of a few things that you can do to start avoiding some of that waste. So you want to work to buy correct amounts. So before shopping, that goes back to taking that inventory. So you're checking the pantry, the refrigerator, the freezer to find out what you already have on hand. So you're not overbuying that item, and you can start to use up those perishable items before they go bad. So only buy the amount of food you can store and use before it spoils. Next, you want to check the date on the food. When putting food away in the pantry, fridge, or freezer, write the date on it in large print with a Sharpie so you can quickly glance in your freezer and see what food you need to use up. I know some people will use paper tape or masking tape to write dates on things like leftovers or fresh produce as well. And you want to make sure that you are rotating so that you are using the oldest items first before they expire. So that first in, first out method. Next, plan to use your leftovers. And we talked about this a little bit on the previous slide, but I know my grandma used to cook a whole roast, ham, or chicken on the weekend, and then would plan the week's menu around that. So you want to plan to use leftovers in your meal plan. You can put them in casseroles, soups, snacks, lunch boxes. A lot of people are really into grain bowls, so that's a great way to use up some of those proteins. You could also recycle last night's hamburgers into beef and bean tacos for tonight, leftover roast chicken in tomorrow's lunch as a chicken salad. So there are all sorts of ways that you can use up your leftovers. So a question for the group, if you want to go ahead and start writing in the chat box some of your favorite ways to use the leftovers. And don't forget that we are encouraging you to label, date, and freeze them into single-size portions if you aren't going to do the cook once, eat more than once method. So as you are adding in your favorite ways to use leftovers in the chat box, I'm going to put up a real life example on the screen. So if you are practicing along with us, feel free to jot a couple notes down for yourself as well. So this is an actual meal plan for my house from last summer. So you can kind of see how I start to run this through. And part of this is finding what works best for you. So when I make my meal list, I make sure to include all meals. I generally eat the same thing for breakfast and lunch each week. So I only have that written down once. What you don't see on there are the things that I bought last week. So cereal, milk, things like bread. Usually I don't have to buy those every week because I have a smaller household. But if I'm out of those items, then I would need to add them on. So when you are taking your the meals that you created in step one, so your idea list, your brainstorming of what ideas you want to eat that week, then you want to start to organize it into the week. So think about the activities that your household might have. Don't forget that there are 3 meals. A lot of people like to eat snacks, so that would need to be taken into consideration as well. And if you've got kids after sports, they might need a snack. So think about those activities. Think about what your family is experiencing that week. So if you have a week where you're working late one night, that might be your leftover day, or it might be a simpler meal that more people can help with in your home. Okay. So then we've thought about the meals that we want to eat. We've taken inventory of what we have, and now we're going to make a grocery list. Your grocery list should be based off of your meal plan. The list should be based on staples that you need to restock. So those things that you always have in your pantry, ingredients that you would need to complete any recipes you've planned, and what you already have and what's on sale. So it helps to make your grocery list according to the store layout. So my grocery list usually has produce first, then meat, then dry goods, then dairy, then frozen foods, because that's how I walk through the grocery store. And this helps me go through the store quicker and more efficiently. Also make note on your list where you may be using a coupon or taking advantage of a store sale. That way you remember to do it. So I know some vegetables will run 10 for 10. So I'll make frozen vegetables will run 10 for 10. So I'll make a note on my list. I need to buy X amount so I get that sale. A time saver is to build your list throughout the week. So keeping your list where you can conveniently add to it, whether that's a sticky note on the fridge, it might be a running list on your phone, might be somewhere else where either you remember to add to it or your other family members can add to it as well. And then when you're actually at the store, sticking to your list can help to save you money. People who shop with the list and buy little else spend less money on groceries. So for your grocery list, make sure that you are buying enough that you only have to go to the store about once a week. Multiple trips to the store costs money and it costs you time. So think not only are you buying more if you are at the store more, but then you're taking the time to get there, the gas money that it would take you to get there. So all of that goes into that equation as well. So here we've got another opportunity for practicing. So you can follow along if you've got a scratch piece of paper. So we are going to look at your meal list and then create a grocery shopping list that includes all ingredients for all main dishes, the side dishes, the snacks, etc. for the week. So obviously this would be a little easier if you are actually at home and can run to your pantry and look. So some find it easier to list everything needed and then cross off items that they already have as they find it in their pantry. Some would rather list while they search and only write what needs to be purchased. So there are a couple different ways to create this list. You'll figure out what works best for you. And then don't forget items that complement main dishes or sides. So that might be if you are planning pancakes, don't forget the syrup. If you are planning turkey burgers, don't forget that some people like to eat those with ketchup. So think about those condiments and sauces as well. So you can see on this example list of ingredients what I'm going to need for the recipes I'm making. I make a note of what I already have and where it's at. So if it's in my pantry, if I need to pull it out of the freezer, and then I use that list to make my grocery list in order of how the store is laid out. And then I also try to make note of where I have a coupon so I don't forget to use it. Okay, so shifting into some budget busters. So we said that if you stick to a grocery list, that can help save you time and money. Monica mentioned in her slides that she kind of gets caught up by those candy bars at the cash register. And I know she's not the only one. I'm guilty of that as well. So when we are actually at the store, we want to think about those impulse buys. So this means you're buying food that you don't really need, and a list can help curb those impulse buying. So some other suggestions that can help kind of mitigate some of those impulse buys. So don't shop when you're hungry. You're more likely to buy food when you're hungry, especially those convenience items that may cost us more. So make sure that you feed yourself or anyone else going with you to the store, especially if they are little kids, make sure that they have a snack or a meal before you go. That way you won't be tempted to buy food that's not on your list. Be aware that specials and coupon offers invite you to buy impulsively. If you have a grocery store pickup, this could be a good way to kind of avoid some of those impulse purchases. So those impulse purchases, a lot of times they can be foods that are lower in nutritional value. So if you're on a tight budget, you will get the most food for your dollar and your family by buying nutrient-dense foods. Calorie-dense foods like candy, colas, cookies, cakes, things like that can quickly gouge out a significant portion of your food budget and leave your family with empty calories and still asking what's for dinner. So looking at this chart, we see some of those impulse buys and how they add up. So if I'm really hungry and I'm at the grocery store and I pick up a candy bar at the cash register, it might only cost me $1, but if I multiply that, that could cost me upwards of $300 a year. And I know usually a candy bar is great in the moment, but I'm still going to be hungry later on for an actual meal. And you see some other examples. So think about how those impulse buys that you tend to pick up when you're at the store, think about how that multiplies out and the yearly costs that it may be having on your food budget. Okay, so shopping smart. So you've got your meals planned out, you've made your list. Now it's time to actually go to the store. So you can shop smart by sticking to the perimeter of the store. This is generally where you will find those healthier options. So your fresh produce, the fresh meat, the dairy, the frozen food items, those are usually on the perimeter of the store. Note that many people say not to shop while you're hungry. Not only will this help you not buy things you don't really need, but it can help you from eating everything the second you walk in the door. I'm also guilty of that, where you pick up a convenience food and then the second you get home, you eat a snack, you eat a meal from grocery shopping. So planning ahead, having a small snack or a healthy meal before you go to the store can help as well. Certain healthy foods like nuts and grains and canned foods will be in the center aisle, so sticking only to the perimeter might not be our best plan. So go down the aisles where you need something from and then avoid the rest of the aisles. If you don't necessarily need to go down the soda aisle or the chip aisle, don't walk down there just for the sake of going down there. Walking past those items on the shelf will only increase that impulse buy, or you might buy something that you don't really need or don't really want. So avoiding those aisles helps you to stick to your list. If possible, limit the amount of people that you bring to the store with you. I know that's not always possible, but more people means more of a chance for impulse buys. So you're not just managing your impulses, but you're also managing the impulses of everyone with you. So a food safety tip we see down here in the corner. So plan to pick up items that are from the freezer or refrigerated section of the store towards the end of your visit to minimize the amount of time that these are in the temperature danger zone. So they're not in refrigeration. So we really needed to watch the temperature on those items to make sure that we are keeping us and our families safe. So when we are at the store, we want to remember that time is money. The more time you spend in the store, the more money you will spend. Studies have shown that the more time you spend in the store, the more you're going to spend. So shoppers typically spend $2.17 for every minute they are in the store. Taking the time to think about how you'll shop helps to save you money, and so does having a list. If you fall victim to impulse purchasing, this might be another great use of the grocery store pickup if that service is available to you. So 10 ways to shop smart. We're going to go through these one by one. So consider canned, frozen, and fresh produce. If you have the freezer space, frozen vegetables, so we're talking about the plain ones. Sometimes they're called recipe ready, but they don't have sauces or butters or cheese. They're just the flash frozen chopped up plain vegetables. These are as nutritious as fresh produce. They save you prep time because someone's already taken the time to cut it up into pieces, and they're usually on sale and much more affordable than fresh produce. It's not only a good time saver, but it's also a good buy. Plus, it'll last a lot longer in your freezer than it would in your refrigerator. So the second tip is to choose your protein. Canned beans or vegetables are also a great option and make adding nutritious ingredients to meals really easy. So make sure that you read the label to check sodium content and the ingredient list to make sure that they are unflavored. If you have an electric programmable pressure cooker, dried beans are also a really great affordable buy as well. Canned and frozen options have a longer shelf life, so if your plans change midweek, you don't have to worry about wasting money. So that's another great advantage to beans and those frozen vegetables. If you are buying fresh produce, we did mention a couple slides back to consider buying in-season produce. And then remember that when we are shopping, even if it's on sale and it looks like a great buy, we only want to buy as much as we can reasonably use in a set amount of time because we don't want that food to go to waste. Remember that convenience costs. So a lot of times when we buy pre-cut vegetables, what's coming to mind are those containers of cut up watermelon that you can see in the store. So that's costing us money. A lot of times those small pint-sized containers are going to be more expensive than buying a whole watermelon. Obviously, if you're one person, that might be a worthy cost to you. But if you are feeding 5, 6, or 7 people, it might be more cost effective to buy the whole watermelon and then take the time to cut that up yourself. So we also want to drink water. So drinking water instead of soda and other sugary beverages like Monsters or sports drinks, those items cost money. So tap water is easy on the wallet and has 0 calories, which makes it a nutritious choice. You can invest in a water filter. I know some people don't enjoy tap water, so that's where investing in a water filter can be worth your efforts. And then step number 5, we want to consider those store brands. So store brands are usually cheaper and the same quality as name brand. We will cover a few other tactics coming up here in the next couple of slides. So I'm going to, for 6 through 10, I'm going to turn it over to Abigail. So she will cover the rest of the 6.
Thank you, Amber. So starting with number 6, we have categorical sales. So those are things that you maybe see in the Sunday paper insert. So those are about 15 different categories of food. They cycle through about every 12 weeks. So something important to know about that is if you missed it this week, it's probably going to come back around in about 12 weeks or so. They normally rotate on that 12-week rotation. But what you can do with the categorical sales is you can maximize your savings by finding items that are already on sale and then using a coupon to add to your savings. Things that are normally in here would be our proteins and produce, and then shelf stable items too, like pasta, peanut butter, jelly, things like that. But one thing you want to be aware of is just because it's posted that it's on sale doesn't necessarily mean that it's really on sale or it's saving you money. So compare it with other items that are next to it on the shelf and see if you are going to get the most for your dollar. And then number 7 is unit pricing. So unit pricing, if any of you have ever heard of it, you can put that in the comments. If you've ever heard of unit pricing or if you've ever used it before. But the purpose of unit pricing is to show customers the price of the product by pound or by ounce. So it tells you the price per unit. So you can see on this label that there's a lot of numbers, and sometimes when you look at the price tag on the item, you hardly even notice the unit price. It's pretty small in the corner of the price tag. So a quick example on here is you can see a large yogurt container versus individual sized. So the large one is $5.79 and the individual one is $1.79. What you can do is divide how many servings there are. So it's going to show you that the large one is $3.86 per pound, while the smaller one is $5.40 per pound. So you're getting more for your money by buying the larger one. However, buying the larger one might not be the best choice for you. It might be a great choice if you eat yogurt every day, but if you're just wanting to buy a half a cup of yogurt for a recipe, you're probably actually going to save money by just buying the one small item, because you will be wasting money if you throw it away in your trash. So definitely larger is not always better. And then number 8, we have specially marketed packaging. So that's where the offer or the deal is right on the product. So you can see it says 25% more, $10 off. It might have a coupon attached to the box, or it could be bundled to like 2 tubes of toothpaste. So not everything we're talking about today is about food necessarily. A lot of times you'll see like hygiene products bundled for 2. So those are labeled right there on the package telling you what the deal is. The number 9 is a big one. We could probably spend a lot of time talking about couponing. But one of the things about couponing is going through the Sunday paper or the online ads or different places that you look, but making sure that you're clipping coupons or planning on using coupons for things that you're actually going to eat. So if you're going to clip a coupon for tofu and you're never ever going to eat tofu, but you bought it, you might have saved $1, but if you spent $5, you really wasted $5 because it's going to go right into the trash eventually. So one thing that you can get into the habit of or practicing is to stack coupons. So if you have the categorical sales coming through and you see that strawberries are going on sale and you have a coupon for 50 cents off produce, you can stack those coupons so you're getting the most money for your dollar there. Another thing to do is electronic coupons. So a lot of grocery stores have apps where you're able to have a customer ID, and you can clip the coupons in the app, and all you do is type in your ID number at checkout and it automatically gives you all of the coupons that you're eligible for. So that's really easy to do. But you want to make sure that when you're using a coupon that it's actually the cheapest item you can buy. So a good example is that generic brands are oftentimes cheaper than name brands. So if you have a coupon for a name brand, you might want to check and make sure that the generic is still not going to be the better one to purchase. Sometimes the generic is still cheaper even with the coupon for a name brand product. And just remembering that you shouldn't buy what's on sale just because you have a coupon for it. You really need to make sure that you have a way to use that product before it goes bad. Okay, and then number 10, so our last one is called loss leader products. So these are products that are being sold at a really low price, and they are actually, the store is most likely losing money on that product, but it is luring you into the store. So the deal is so good that they're expecting customers to come in and buy that product, but most likely you're not going to just stick with that product. So you've been lured into the store, and then you're going to go do your normal shopping and maybe even more. So they're willing to lower the price of something in hopes that you'll spend more money throughout the store. However, there normally is a limit. So, maybe you can only buy 5 or 10, but it's a good idea to buy whatever your budget will allow, so you can get the best deal there. So we finished our 10 tips, and now we're going to talk about prepping the food. So you've planned it all out, but now we're going to prep it. So a lot of people have different things that work for them. So I work full time, and sometimes I work in the evening. So I normally don't cook every single day. So I plan in leftovers so that I can have a quick dinner or two during the week. But for some people, maybe it's best for your family if you cook every day. Maybe you're feeding so many people that it's easier if you cook in really big batches a few days a week. You're going to need to figure out what works best for you in preparing food for your household. Another tip, though, is to cut up your fruits and vegetables and prepare them for the week, maybe before your work week starts or the school week. So you're more apt to take that out of the fridge and eat it or snack on it or pack it in a lunch because it's already prepared for you. So to prepare healthy meals, there's a few things you want to keep in mind. First, you want to organize your kitchen. So keep all of the things you frequently use, like your oils and your sprays, cutting boards, knives, in easy reach. So make it easy, as easy as you can on yourself to prepare healthy meals. This will save you time from hunting around and tripping over yourself in your kitchen. It will clear your clutter so you're able to find what you're looking for a lot better. It'll just make you feel like you're being more productive. And secondly, it's really important to remember food safety. So clean kitchens are good kitchens. We want to prevent foodborne illnesses. We want to make sure that we clean our produce. We separate produce from our proteins that aren't cooked. And then we're cooking things properly and even putting it in the fridge and storing it properly afterwards. So then we've cooked all this food and we have leftovers, but a good thing to do is when we're talking about food budgeting is what we can do with our leftovers. So we don't want to throw that in the trash. So being able to freeze your leftovers and put them in the freezer is a great way to have a quick meal later, but also save your money. So things that you don't want to freeze would be water-based vegetables like lettuce, celery, and spinach. Cream cheese, fully cooked noodles, and mayonnaise. Those don't really do too well in the freezer, but most other things, you're going to have a pretty good shot at it being a nutritious and well-tasting meal after you freeze it and thaw it back out. And so this is a really good thing to practice. I know Amber had talked about it, that maybe you bulk make your meals. So you're making 2 lasagnas one evening, and you're putting that second one in there so you can eat it in 3 or 4 weeks to save your family time one evening. So we've gone through a whole lot of tips, but to summarize, we want to remember to make time. So give yourself time for meal planning and shopping and cooking, and start small. So if you have never done something like this before, or if starting with a grocery list is a big step for you, do what is going to work for you so that you have a good chance at being successful. A great tip would be just starting to plan 1 meal a week if you're not used to planning meals, and then going on from there. And then paying attention at the store. So, getting what's the best deal that you can for the coupons and the deals that you see, and then following your grocery list and getting to the checkout line, following that list as best as possible. And then lastly, stocking your kitchen. So having canned goods or frozen things kind of in the back in case you don't have something, you don't have to run to the store. So kind of having those staples available to you at all times will help you when you're in a pinch. All right. And then lastly is a list of our resources that we used for our program. And I know that Monica had put a couple of links in the comments for handouts that go along with some different things that we talked about.
Thank you everyone for joining us. If you have any questions for us, feel free to type them in the chat boxes and we will answer them. And while we're answering any of those questions, I'm also going to put a link to a survey in the chat box as well. If you could take the time to go to that link and just kind of answer, there's only 6 questions, and tell us about your basically your food budgeting and meal planning practices before today's presentation, and then as a result, maybe how those might change. So if you could share some of that information with us to let us know how we might have helped you today. But we'll stay on here a few more minutes while we wait and find out if anyone has any questions. And if not, thank you all for joining, and we hope you'll watch another Purdue Extension Facebook Live that's done from all of us all over the state. We're all kind of adjusting to no in-person programming, so there's lots of opportunities to check out different educators from all over the state and their expertise areas.
I might have missed this, but did you guys say that the slides would be available?
This will be recorded, so we can share it that way if that's what you mean.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
We do not have another meeting currently scheduled, but if you follow Purdue Extension Health and Human Sciences, they're normally sharing some of the live videos that are being done by educators all over the state. So you could go to their page and find out, or maybe check out your local county's extension page and find out some of the things they're doing there. Okay, that's all the questions I'm seeing coming in. So thank you all for joining us. And hopefully you'll take the time to fill out that survey, and we look forward to seeing those results.